Good afternoon. A little short video today. Um, it, it's a beautiful day today. The sky completely cleared and it kind of made me feel much better. Just got through feeding the horses their oats. And today I was thinking about the connection that we have when we were very, very small children with where we came from. And I was trying to think back, like some of the dreams that I had that I remembered when I couldn't have been more than 3 years old. I know this because the dream I had, I was still in a crib. And I remember having these dreams quite often of a falling experience. Like I was falling and falling and falling. And I now, on reflection, hadn't thought about this at all until now, but it stayed with me. It stayed with me because I can talk about it and I remember it. Those very strong dreams that I had when I was, very young, couldn't have been older than 3 years old. And this falling experience. And I wonder now whether that is an experience of the soul dropping down into the material world. And, and I don't know, it's just a thought. And then another thing that I had when I was a child, people talk about how children have imaginary friends. I definitely had an imaginary friend. And now I wonder if the imaginary friend is your guardian angel. Again, I couldn't have been any older than 4 or 5, but I remember um, my parents at the time had a very nice apartment in Washington, D.C. I still remember it, and sometimes I look it up. It's called the Elaine Apartments, and apparently it's still kind of like a classic, very well kept up apartments after all these years. And it must have been built uh, in the late 1940s or early 1950s. I was born 1956, so they probably were the apartment was probably fairly new at that time, and it was, it was, you know, uh, from what I remember, it was a very nice apartment, and it had a big window overlooking the street that looked on to the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. And I remember there was a night when my mom took my brother and me. It was nighttime, and we crossed over to the street and went into the cathedral. And it left such a strong impression on me. And I remember my mom lighting a candle, and there were all these candles that were lit. I mean, it's a historic cathedral, very, very beautiful cathedral, um, and that's a memory that came to me that left a deep impression. But as far as this imaginary friend, I can't remember the name, but I remember I called her Mrs. Something. I can't remember, but I referred to her as Mrs. and and that's all I remember was like I used to talk to her all the time, and I think my mom probably thought, I wonder if there's something wrong with this kid because she keeps talking to someone called Mrs. Light or something like that. And she must have been told, oh, yeah, kids have their imaginary friends. And I wonder, I couldn't help but wonder, like, well, maybe that was a guardian angel that I had that I was speaking to. And then as you grow older, you get more and more involved in the physical world, and those connections that you had when you were a very young child to the spiritual world begins to fade. But now, after Richard passed, I'm making those connections again, and I'm thinking more about guardian angels and maybe even members of our family that passed that are there with us, that guide us in ways that we don't even know about, that we're not really quite aware about. But I know it's true because, there are times when I know not to do something and a red flag will go up. And I talked about how I deeply regret the red flags that came up of warnings not to go to Maui. And I always said to myself, when I go on a flight, please let me know if I'm not supposed to go. Give me some kind of warnings. And there were 2 significant warnings, and I ignored them, and I went, and I regret it. And I'm not going to repeat what those warnings were, but because I already talked about it in a previous video. But all I can say is, when that voice comes to you, when you're getting a sign that's like almost flashing in front of you, like a bright red light flashing, pay attention to it, because more than likely your guardian angel is trying to tell you something. So today it was quite a beautiful day, and I just, did some chores today, just did my regular stuff. I had to go to the market and pick up some things, mostly for Schmickles. Not so much for me, but for Schmickles. He had to get his bones. I can't give him any bones other than the round soup bones, because I tried giving him a rib bone, and instead of him just eating what's on the rib bone and leaving the bone, he ends up eating the whole damn bone. So, which is not good for him. And I looked it up on Google, and then they said, do not, ooh, what was that? Someone just shot off something, and it even startled the horses. That, pardon for the interruption, but some weird stuff has been going on. The other day, there's a military training not too far away from here, but I have never, in all the years that I've been here, have experienced this sensation of a series it sounded like bombs that went off. And it sounded like the whole house was shaking, and it was like boom, 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 boom. And the whole house was like, it felt it, like the whole house was like moving. And I called my neighbor and asked him, like, hey, did you hear that? I mean, what? He said, yeah. He said, that was really weird. I didn't know what it was. And he said, I went running around the house to see if, anything went off, or and then we both agreed that it had to have been military. And it happened like several times, like 4 or 5 times. That shook the house. It sounded like the bombs were like right on you. It was weird. In all the years that Richard and I have been living here, I've never experienced that. I've heard distant gun shooting, but that's it. Not like this boom, 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 like bombs going off that literally, shook the house. I don't know what that means, but it was weird. Anyway, what was I talking about before? I was talking about something good about Richard and um, just doing my regular thing. I went to the market getting the bones and Schmickles. I cannot get rib bones. Other dogs can, they'll just munch on the rib bone and they'll leave the bone. Not him. He eats the whole damn bone, which is not good for him. And Google says, do not give it to him. So I have to go to the market to get the round soup bones. Those are safe. He can't do anything with those other than just eat the marrow in the center, and then he can't bite it down. Um, just just daily stuff that I'm doing like that. Taking care of my dog, going to the market, and that's beautiful. There's the starlings. They're back. Uh, it seems like when I do the video, they come around and they land right on the eucalyptus tree. Just so beautiful. Um, I hope it's a sign from Richard. I do look for signs from him, and there's a video that I listened to again today about, it was an Edgar Casey video explaining that when our loved ones leave before us, and that they're not leaving us for us to suffer and be in grief, but it has something to do with we've made that agreement before we came into this life, that who would go first. And I do kind of think that there might be something to it, because Richard always wanted to try to teach me about things, and it might be that he had to leave in order for me to learn about how to manage things here, but more than that, about spiritual growth, because as much as I've had faith, in my life of a spiritual existence, and believing with all my heart and soul that there's no such thing as death, and believing with all my heart and soul in God, I kind of had strayed from the path. I was just, doing my thing, and not really doing more to meditate, to pray. And when my mom passed, I started to get back to that more. I started to pray to her. And when Richard passed, I went all the way. I'm just doing everything I can to raise my, what they call your frequency, your vibrations, to be in a closer connection, because they're with us, but the only reason why we might feel like we're not feeling them or connecting is not because of them, but because you're not you're still kind of caught in a fog in your mind and not really doing what you need to do to raise that frequency. And every single video that I've listened to on this subject, on the afterlife and connecting with our loved ones that have crossed the veil, they've all said meditate. That is like the number one thing that is repeated, not from just one person, but all of them. Meditate, meditate. Quiet your mind, silence your mind, and be in a place where you can be in a prayerful meditation, and that will bring you closer to them. And I'm working on it. I could do, I'm not doing it as well as I should, but I think even doing these videos brings me closer to him. And I'm just always thinking about Richard too. I'm always thinking about him. And I believe just, when you have good thoughts and you're remembering things, even if it brings you deep sorrow, for me, there's not a day that goes by that I don't cry. It's not all the time, but something will hit me. I'll see something from, in his room, or I'll remember something, and even a song can bring me to tears. Like this morning, I woke up and out of the blue, I was hearing this song, Angie, from the Rolling Stones. And I thought, I haven't heard it on the radio. I haven't listened to it in a very long time, but it came into my brain. It came into my mind. And I thought, okay, what is this song trying to tell me? And I listened to it, and I just started to burst down in tears, because it's a song about don't cry and don't grieve. It's going to be okay. And you see what I mean? I can't even talk about it without crying. And that's the irony of it. It's a song, if he's trying to tell me, don't keep crying, don't keep grieving, because it's okay. And then I end up crying even more, But I was thinking, if I replaced the name Angie with Jackie, it just seemed to hit me right in the heart. And I don't know if he sent me that song, but it's all about, what really hurt me was, isn't it time to say goodbye? And I said to the song, no, it's never goodbye. And it's not a separation. But I think the main theme of that song was, it's okay, stop crying, dry your tears, it's going to be okay, don't grieve. And, sometimes this is what I mean by, just when I think I'm not sure if I'm getting any more signs from him, and then, something like that will happen, where a song comes into my mind out of the blue, and I feel like it's a message from him. So anyway, just going to be a short video. Just wanted to pass on a few thoughts, and have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.